So, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coalition. I am your host, Dana, joined by Mr. Danny Martinez, who I dragged out and forced him to do this because he was like, I don't care, I don't watch WWE, so it doesn't matter. But there's a much larger picture here at play. Uh, how are you doing this afternoon, Mr. Kayfabe?
I'm still kind of waking up, but I'm good. Very interested in how this topic is gonna go.
It's noon, by the way. I had to hold him hostage at noon, was the earliest he would wake up.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Yes, we are going to discuss basically. I would don't know. Maybe I'm doing this a little too early, but one of the great falls of WWE, which is now the use of AI. You and I have grown up watching wrestling just in general, but WWE is one of the big major companies that we watch. We had no choice. Kids in America, all we got was WWE. Point of this is one of the things that I loved about wrestling, that I'm sure you loved, was the storytelling aspect of it. Was it no matter how crazy the story could have been, we saw what was it? One of Mae Young give birth to a hand. We saw Gene Snitsky kick a punt a fake baby into the
It
crowd.
wasn't his fault.
Wasn't it well? We have heard great lines either that came from wrestlers or came from writers. We all remember, for example, the CM Punk pipe bomb, the AJ Lee pipe bomb, everything else that, one liners and everything that we love. The dead man. I forgot what he used to say because I'm old, but he had a saying too. Even it's time to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that came from someone's brain, whether it was the actual wrestlers or the multitude of writers that have come in and out of WWE's doors. So, my question is now, what will happen to WWE and its writing, its storytelling, now that we know that AI is being used to write storylines? That's the big thing here. So, news is broke over the weekday of the week that Triple H has signed on to belong to a company. It's an AI software company where they essentially are going to hire, AI people. They're going to get AI software to write the storylines. And one of the storylines that they've come across was the fact of Bobby Lashley being obsessed with Japanese culture. A man who isn't even in the WWE roster anymore. And he is going to, it wasn't really much of a storyline because who would he wrestle? Shinsuke? Would he team up with Shinsuke? But the point is, it's pretty terrible. They're using wrestlers that's not even in the company. What are your thoughts when the story just kind of dropped that, hey, this is what we're doing?
Um, I think it's partly desperation. I think it's partly TKO trying to save a buck because this definitely, if it works out that the AI stuff works out, I don't see it ever working out properly, but if it did work out, it gives them reason to fire writers and save more money. So they're still penny pinching even more so than they are now. Um, I think those are the two biggest things. It's like just laziness and to be honest, I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's still wrong. And the only reason why I get it is because for us, for the long time older viewers, we've seen it all already. Like we've seen an old lady give birth to a hand. Like we've seen a giant chicken come out of an egg. Like we've seen you know crazy gimmicks like Papa Shango and Doink the Clown and the Undertaker and all that stuff. So I think they're running out of ideas because we've still been watching wrestling for years, and we'll be like, oh, they're using this storyline. They used to do this in with these wrestlers and this storyline. So a lot of storylines are kind of recycled and reused with slight tweaks in there, but it's not original content anymore. It's actually gotten a bit boring, a bit stale because it's all been done. Of course, it's going to be new for the newer folks, for the kids and all that. They've never seen those things, but for us, so I think AI, they're kind of using it to give it a fresh take and trying to get unique ideas, but AI still doesn't know what it's doing and it's still learning. And like, yeah, you just said like Bobby Lashley. It said Bobby Lashley should be obsessed with Japanese culture. Bobby Lashley isn't on the roster anymore. Why are you suggesting him? How many Japanese wrestlers do you have on there? Male, anyways, because females we got, we got Kabuki Warriors, we got a few people there, but like, how does this work? So it's just uh, it's laziness and it's penny pinching to me.
I think that's a cop out. I think that to say, oh, I understand that originality you can say is dead, but the way how you can remix something of the past and bring it into a fresh face, or change the scenario of a situation, I think that can happen still with the human mind.
Hmm.
You could take something and create, even if you were to say, oh, we're going to have a tag match. And I don't know, CM Punk was assaulted at the airport by uh, Doink the Clown, because one day CM Punk decided to go to a circus. He didn't like the show and he slapped his mother. Ridiculous, yes, but you can figure out a way to make something, I feel, more creative. That was a terrible example. I just realized that. But the point is, you can make something still creative by using the human mind. You can then add in that emotion to it to make it mean something. And I think that it is part of cost saving, but it's also part laziness if you really look at it. Okay, so we have, for example, Triple H, when he came in, he didn't come in under the best circumstances. Things were technically, and I am not giving praise to this man, I just want you to understand, things technically were still under the umbrella of Vince McMahon. The storylines, he just had to tweak it a little bit, listen to the audience a little bit. And for those, I would say probably 2 years or so, everything was perfectly fine. But when it came to him relying on himself, that's when we got into the issue. And it's starting to feel more like this is a position that he doesn't want. So instead of giving the reins over to actual skilled writers, people who are passionate about the company, he instead wants to do AI. So my thing is, what then happens to the writers that are already there? Are their voices no longer being used? Exactly. Will their voices get drowned out by a literal machine for a guy who instead wants to take on more duties at the White House? So he's, to me, yes, it's cost saving, but it seems like he's punishing the company because he just doesn't want to be there. And I'm sorry, if you really look at it, attendance has been down. Tickets are sky high. I can't afford a ticket. I tried to go to John Cena's farewell tour. I think I sent you the cheapest ticket was somewhere in the nosebleeds, where I would literally be on the sidewalk looking in, and that was roughly like $1,200. It's ridiculous, and you're doing this in a time when NXT is really not watchable. SmackDown is terrible, and you're barely holding on to the Netflix, the Raw on Netflix, and even those numbers are substantially down. They are tremendously down. So now we're going to rely on the storytelling of AI for this. I'm just confused as to how this would all work. I mean, do you feel that, just for example, if AI somehow did crack the case and create creative stories, will that be enough to bring in everyone?
I think I think my guess, it would make the most sense. I'm not saying this is what they're thinking, because they can be really stupid sometimes with their plans, but my guess would be that AI could be used to start a new idea, to get the ball rolling, because they can't figure out, like, you know how like they hire so many wrestlers and they just can't figure out like how to use them. AJ Lee, for example, right now, like they literally just don't know what to do with her. She's still on the roster. She's still there, but they just don't know what to do with her. And there and other people, like, well, we had Andrade before. Andrade, they didn't know what to do with him after they brought him back, and he's already gone now. But like, I think AI can help start a template and get the ball rolling for especially for people where they don't know what to do with them, and see if that's, like, for example, the Bobby Lashley thing. Like, yeah, it threw Bobby Lashley's name on there, but the idea itself could have been used for somebody else. Let's say, for example, Andrade. You know, Andrade, a Hispanic guy obsessed with Japanese culture, even though he barely knows a lick of English, and so God knows how he's going to speak Japanese. But let's say that's the idea, and that's the gimmick that's going to go for him. So at least they get the ball rolling for something for him to do and for somewhere to start, and then they can kind of lead from there. I would hope that's how the writers can still be used. But I still just see this as a penny pinching moment where it's just like, yeah, let's fire 2 writers, and then the other we have on staff is the ones that'll just pick up the slack for whatever AI spews out at us. So it's just, I feel like it's going to be a mess, and it's going to be a lot of growing pains with that.
I think that I'm concerned about is everyone's saying, oh, there'll still be writers there. I don't think there will be. If
You
you
think they
look
get
at what
rid of all of them?
TKO is, I think they're going to get rid of a majority of them. And so you're having, maybe what happens if you have 2 people on staff, maybe per show at most, trying to go through all of these AI storylines with a multitude. It's not like this is just one wrestler that we're going to focus on. A multitude of wrestlers to make up the 2 hour. I think we got rid of 3 hours, right? I'm not sure. But to make up however hours that we need. And then on top of that, we have the pay-per-views to do the in-between stuff. And then so if you only have 2 writers on staff who has to proofread everything to make sure everything makes sense, that's going to add a lot more strain to a job where a lot of people's roles are already being consolidated. We've seen they just got rid of a bunch of wrestlers. They're also getting rid of people behind the stage, behind, the scenes people, also corporate as well. So it's just, I'm wondering, will this then add more pressure to people who are already there? And if you're going to go and hire AI, what happens to a wrestler's individuality and creativity? Will that still be able to take precedent? Because if you really look at it, I'm wondering, will we have, for example, a Stone Cold of that moment if AI existed? Because that was all just off the dome. A majority of that was off the top. So can you have characters with that kind of individualism, or will it be more of a copycat of, like, sorry, but a LA Knight pretending to be a Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Well, I think
That's
I still, regardless of whether a story is coming from actual people or AI or Vince McMahon for that matter, it's still up to the character, it's still up to the wrestlers to make it their own and to kind of turn it into a success. You know, there have been a lot of gimmicks that wasn't supposed to work but did work because they put their own little, charisma to it, and whatever, it worked. I don't think AI will still be any different, but what I think is that yes, it still will be difficult and restrict creativity, because if you're getting rid of majority of the writers and you're relying on the AI, and whatever the AI says and goes, like, this is the gimmick that you're going to do, this is the storyline that you're going to do because AI said so, and you're going to make it work. Who does that sound like? That sounds like Vince McMahon. It sounds like you're doing a Vince McMahon era all over again, because now it's like you got this crazy stupid idea with no logical sense, but you're going to make it work because Triple H said so. and that's it, because we got no writers to come up with any ideas. We got to use AI. So it's like now you got a virtual Vince McMahon telling you what the storyline is and what your gimmicks are, and you're just going to have to make it work however possible. And maybe you'll make it, maybe you won't.
It's the GM all over again. Remember
the virtual GM?
Really...
Oh my god, it was so dumb. And we never got closure for that storyline either.
No. There's a lot of storylines we never got closure for. Oh gosh. But yeah, so there's a part of me also that's like, yes, this sucks. We hate AI. WWE as a whole has kind of not been good. This could, I'm just wondering, I wonder if it could get any worse. Because here we have, if you watch a show, for example, a lot of just wasteful talk and a lot of repetition with the matches and a lot of repetition with the promos. I know y'all love Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes goes out there and says the same thing over and over again. And then he cries about his dad. We have Jey Uso, who's literally taking up 20 minutes of the show.
That's it for 20 minutes.
It's like a video game thing, and it's stuck. Bring back, what was it, WWE 2K19. It's just stuck in that mode. Remember the bugs? Oh my gosh. So yeah, we have that, and that's been pretty awful. And everything else has been pretty poop. So I'm just wondering, is there a way, like you said, just bridging that kind of human touch with, again, something that could be meaningful? And it just overall, I don't know how this is going to be pulled off. Where
that'll just be rely to the wrestlers. Like, you just got to rely on the wrestler to take it and work with it. But at the same time, they're going to get blamed for it now because you didn't make it work. It's your fault. You can't blame the writers anymore because you got none.
You got none. And I'm just wondering, do you want to spend your money to watch, forget the matches, because yay, but there's a company that calls themselves sports entertainment. They said, we're not wrestling. We're sports entertainment. Remember that whole huge thing? So you're sports entertainers. Do you want to be entertained by something that AI wrote? Are you willing to spend thousands of dollars for a basic ticket? This is not even for like WrestleMania. This is now for regular shows. To see something that AI wrote. That's going to be the true test.
This AI program program stuff that they're introducing isn't even implemented yet, and I still wouldn't pay the thousands of dollars that they're doing because the product is stale. So no, I definitely wouldn't. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. The product was for, I mean, the prices were for families to be able to come together and afford it and bring people in, and now only like big obsessed fans, or like the rich and powerful celebrities, they're the ones who are going to be able to watch these shows. We can't watch these shows like the little people.
Yeah. And also kind of, I wanted to say here, and nobody really likes Dave Meltzer. He's kind of became the old angry grandpa who kind of doesn't really make sense sometimes. But he did say this. He said, once bugs are worked out, that AI will begin to have a major impact on storyline direction, which is haunting. We're already we have AI books written by AI and fake authors. So now we have AI direction. So, the word itself, storyline direction, does take a lot of wiggle room. You can say, okay, this is, like you said, use it as a prompt. But I still wonder how heavy it's going to be used. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't think I trust them to be like, oh, it just gave us an idea.
Yep.
I kind of think that it's going to be heavily everything.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say it's a slippery slope. Like, they could have the intentions of just using it as a template and to get things started, but then you start to rely on it more and more and more. You start to fire more and more staff, and yeah, it'll get worse. It will get worse. I think, and honestly, this idea is never going to happen, but I always feel like the biggest solution to the staleness issue of storylines and just making things excited again is honestly because you got to stop making things so damn family friendly. And I think that's the biggest issue, is that everything is so clean and sterile and just very planned out. Like, I'm not saying there should be hardcore matches every freaking Raw. Like, I'm not saying there should be barbed wire matches and bring back Inferno matches and all that stuff. But I'm saying is just to, like, it doesn't feel adult. It doesn't feel mature. You know, you can kind of dial it back. You know, you don't have to necessarily go Attitude Era, but maybe something in between Attitude Era and what was the John Cena era? The ruthless aggression, era,
yeah.
like something in between, because like I don't want them to start, you know, having bra and panty matches again and degrading the women. But at the same time, like, you can have like crazy, stupid, fun storylines that kind of push the envelope a little bit in some sense, you know. And there are ways to go about that and ride the middle ground. But like, I think like the product nowadays is just so damn sterile and so damn cautious because they don't want to piss off their sponsors. They don't want to piss off, you know, the shareholders, that it's just, they even AI will probably spew some stuff that might work, but they won't want to do it because it pushes the envelope too much. So I feel like the solution in my eyes is to get that PG-13 rating off. Freaking get it to a what is it? M rating?
TV
I don't know
something.
what TV. Yeah, TV
No,
M, something like that. I know M is for, like,
that's
for
mature.
video games. Yeah, mature. But like whatever the adult rating is for content for television, like just bring it up a notch a little bit, or at least introduce a little bit here and a little bit there for the adults, for the older crowd. It doesn't have to be the whole show. Like, just yeah, it's just, that's what makes it the most boring. It's just that, like, it's the same template spewed all over again. It's the same cautious tales. It's the same, and this is why Cody always says the same damn thing every damn time, because it's just a sterile, generic hero character. They want to make him the all-American hero type thing, but like we've already seen and done this like a million times. Like, you have to bring something new, something more shocking, something more like at the edge of your seat type of stuff. And AI is still not going to bring that if you're being like nitpicky about what you're showing on television.
That is completely true. And again, you know, what are the audience that it is that you're writing for? And I think there has to be some way where they can incorporate, you know, remember how it used to be like from like 8 to 9, it's like the kids friendly-ish stuff. And then from 9 to 10, because remember that was considered the primetime adult era channel thing. So it would be more of the TVMA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, the fact that I can remember that, not remember what I did yesterday. Amazing. But yes, so I do think that there was room for it to be both. They did have both. And remember, the Attitude Era was not, you know, all great and wonderful. It's pretty terrible too. But, you know, they were able to incorporate kind of both of those things going on. And I think what happened when people, you know, when you go to Netflix, it was like, oh, it's going to be a bit more, you know, a better writing and you could say more words. And that didn't happen. And it's not necessarily even about saying certain words. It's about that storyline, that grit behind it. We just sat through, for example, a pay-per-view at Crown Jewel, Australian Street Fighter match. It was a regular match, but it was a no. Bring back the days. Remember, for example, I think it was Stone Cold or maybe The Rock threw the titles in the river, and we used to watch that. And things used to happen in the street. Remember when APA, I believe APA had an actual scene in a bar. Remember things used to take place in different locations.
Stone Cold and Booker T in the convenience store.
We had the greatest match, and one of the greatest matches of all time was that supermarket fight.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't anything where you had to make it all, you know, violent. You know, nobody was hitting each other in the head with thumbtacks and pulling out teeth. But we sat there and watched people get smashed in the head with cartons of milk. It's just bringing it out of that different environment. And that creativity was human based.
Yeah.
So I think that if we just kind of go back to making the writing fun, making it, even if you could say nothing is really going to be different because everything is a repeating of something that once existed, but bring back the fun of wrestling. And my thing is, I wonder if AI is going to make us care about the next show. We used to watch, even AEW when it's its prime. It's like, okay, it just finished. When's next Wednesday? Let's watch something again. I think wrestling overall has gotten to that stale point, and AI is just not that answer. That's just more of the greed route. So with WWE, I just kind of wonder. And then another thing is more interesting. Who is going to actually lead creative? If you really think of it this way, Triple H wants to have more time to do White House things, right? What, I don't know. Remember, he signed something. I don't know. We're not trying to get political. But the point is, he wants to spend more time in the White House. Who's overseeing everything? Is he still keeping both of his positions where you're going to be the head of creative and the head of talent, but you're really inside the White House all day?
Well, I mean, you can be the head of these things and not necessarily have to be present. I know that's an awful thing to say because, like, me being in many different retail and restaurant industry companies and stuff, like, you want your manager to be present. You want your boss to be there in case shit goes south. But you don't have to, because you can delegate those things. You have people back there like Road Dogg and Dean Malenko and a bunch of senior writers, and, like, the producers, all those producers and all those writers and all those people back there can be either promoted or just help out. And then kind of Triple H oversees those things and be like, just the stamp of approval is what they need pretty much to be allowed to use those things. But yeah, but I still think you're right. It's almost like Triple H is trying to find a backup because things aren't working really well with with WWE or TKO, I should say. Really, I think it's more of a TKO thing than a WWE thing. So whatever he wants to do is his business, but at the end of the day, he still has to make sure the product is still good, and him not being present isn't going to allow the product to be good. No matter how many subordinates you have and how much you delegate, you still have to be there, and that's going to make things fall apart also.
Bringing up Road Dogg, and not Abyss. You should have brought up Abyss. We do not. Road Dogg can't write for anything.
That's right. Yeah.
Road Dogg is why SmackDown is terrible. Poor Abyss.
Helms, what's his name? Hurricane. He's there too.
Hurricane Helms. Helmsley. Something.
Yeah, I can't remember his actual name.
I feel sad for Abyss. He just seems like such a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Did I do okay? Did I do all right? Is it okay? I went over? It's okay. Oh, gosh. But then kind of one of my other big kind of ending questions is this. Is this all just for preparation for when they get sold to Saudi?
I don't. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I feel like that's going to happen with everything that's going on. But I don't know. I don't know if this is preparation for it. I think it's just. I think it's just laziness, and I think it's just TKO trying to recoup their losses before they sell. If they are selling. I still just think it's about money. I don't think it's about prepping something for the next company, whoever takes over, because they want to make their money, and they want to make their money back, because they're still, I don't know if they're still in debt, like if they recoup their losses yet, are they? But I know it was like it was like 3 billion, I think it was, in debt when they took over, and I don't know if they recouped even half that. I don't know at all. But, like, regardless, they're trying to recoup their losses as much as possible, and at the very least make a profit before they move on to something else. So even if what you're saying is true, that they would sell to Saudi, I don't think AI has anything to do with it.
Okay. I mean, it would be interesting, because I just feel that they're going to Saudi. Maybe in 5 years they're going to be sold. They already have their WrestleMania, where now we're getting like WrestleMania.
Now we get the scraps. Yeah.
We get the scraps. It's like, what happened to this company? I still blame Triple H, and I blame Vince. I blame Vince because he knew exactly what he was doing when he sold to TK. And I think it was like, if I can't have the company, I'm going to ruin this for everyone.
Yeah, I
So
could see
that's
that.
like, because if you look, remember, TK also managed UFC. And
Mm-hmm.
UFC, people are like outraged about how that's going as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was like, who's the worst? Who's going to make Triple H, make this company even terrible? And he's like, you can't sully my name because I don't belong to it. It's all Triple H's fault. That's what he gets for voting me off the board. So it would be very interesting to say this. But lastly, you know, I said lastly before, WWE has already been using AI, and we've kind of figured that out. I think fans in general figured that out. When it came to those horrible posters, the graphics,
Yeah.
were AI, and those were being AI generated, and WWE was like, here. And for those who don't know, that was all like by actual designers at one time. We used to have incredible posters, and now everything is just, to me, it all looks and feels the same. How does that feel about you? And the fact that now it's known, even though we already knew, does that kind of change the concept of what WWE used to mean and just overall creativity in general? Because now you have graphic designers are you out of the job. That used
Yeah.
to be good. Remember the magazine department? There used to be a
Oh
magazine.
yeah.
People don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was I'm sure that cost money too, which is why they eventually got rid of it. Just like the WWE stores that they used to have around the place, like the one in Times Square, like those came and went really quickly
Those were
too, and they cost money.
insane.
I get it, so they didn't work out. But yeah, I think it goes back to the graphics and the posters and all that. I think it goes back to just being sterile and just being very cautious and safe, and just everything's a template now. And I was just like, you don't put love in it anymore. There's no heart into it anymore. So it just kind of sucks. The intros aren't the same, the music's not the same. Like if you compare WWE now to at even maybe 10 years ago, there's a huge difference. A huge difference. And not to say like 10 years ago it was the greatest it ever was. I think it was just still okay, but it was definitely better than what we have now. I would probably say 20 years ago was probably the best it ever was. Um, but yeah, it's just a way of corporate greed now, that everything has to be quick and easy, simple, sterile, clean. To be able to push out there, and there's no love into it anymore. It's all just mechanized. It's all just machinery. It's just cogs moving around. That's all it is now.
Yeah. And for people who don't know, the music used to be so good. We used to buy the CDs, buy like the
Yeah.
bundles. But they would have even a whole rap version, and they would have a rock version. There were
Remember,
volumes.
remember Forcible Entry? They came out with an album. For those who don't know, they came out with an album of wrestlers' theme songs with actual bands singing their
Yep.
songs, like kind of like a cover to their theme music. So like Stone Cold had Disturbed, Finger 11 was Kane, who was Triple H. He had
Motorhead, Motor
Motorhead. He
City.
had Motorhead on there. So it's just, yeah, it was great back then.
Remember live performances? Remember when The Rock would perform with Wyclef? Ugh, on the show. It doesn't matter. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, but I'm convinced that Def Rebel is AI. But the good news is
No,
their contract.
I think they're just cheap, which is why their music sucks, and that's why TKO hired them, because they're cheap and easy, and they have this. You clearly see that they have a template for their music, because everything literally sounds the same. You don't know who's coming out of that damn stage until you see like a graphic with their name on it or something. That's it. Like everything is so generic with them.
And this also impacts the Royal Rumble because we would know by that music. Now we're just like, who?
Yep. Who?
What? We got to wait for them to come out. And then we're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so were there any final thoughts on the use of AI in WWE? Is this the downfall? Or what are the contributing factors to a possible downfall? of the WWE.
Yeah, this is a contributing factor, and I've said it a million times. I still don't really watch the product anymore. You heard me say it 50,000 times. I'm sick of it. The only reason why I can keep up with it, I'm still interested in the business and still want to know what's going on. But all I do is keep track of the highlights now. I don't even want to give them the satisfaction of giving them my ratings or my money. So I go on Twitter, I go on YouTube, I look at the highlights, and just be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, time to move on, and that's it. So it's slowly declining for me. And even though I say I'm gonna go AEW, I still haven't. Maybe one day I will and see. By the way, I actually did watch 2 matches yesterday for AEW because me and my wife we were having dinner, and we just wanted to watch something random, and I was like, well, I mean, we haven't been watching WWE, so let's watch some AEW. See if she likes AEW. So we watched an old Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr. match, and then we watched a 3-way tag with Jericho, Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Coda, and the other guy's name I can't remember. But yeah, but that was all fun. It was pretty good matches, not bad.
So he's an AEW lifer.
Yeah, okay. And I'm watching a Jericho match. We're probably going to see Jericho return back in WWE soon, anyways.
They can take him, please go to WWE.
Just let him retire. Let him retire.
Let him retire there. Him and what an AI can go have a party with Def Rebel.
Damn.
And it'll be amazing. But yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. Now that you mentioned that, you're a hardcore AEW fan, so woohoo to that. And I don't know. I do kind of feel that we may be in the next 5-10 years talking about the downfall of the WWE and how it just nobody's watching it anyway. You saw how the Nelson reports they changed their formula and how everything is just gone down. Wrestling in general, people are just not watching wrestling. So I'm just kind of wondering now: are we sitting through the downfall of wrestling? Period. Because there will be some people who watch, wrestling in general. But if you step outside your bubble of like your friends who watch it, a majority of people just don't.
Yeah.
We have an entire generation who's like, why is Dwayne Johnson trying to be a wrestler? They just don't know.
And John Cena, yeah.
Johnson, why is Peacemaker in the ring? Where's Eagly? What's going on? So they're confused. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe wrestling is just one of those pastime sports of yesteryear. It'll soon be. Mm-hmm. So it'll be huge in Saudi Arabia, though.
It'll be SWE in the future. In 5 to 10 years. Dear. It'll be Saudi Wrestling Entertainment.
Wow, that would be something. But yeah, that's kind of all we wanted to say about that. Is I don't think you have anything else final to say. So that has been kind of our brief conversation about the AI and WWE. So catch us later, and we'll pretty sure talk about something. Vince McMahon's skunk hair.